Excellent. Good evening slash morning for everyone. Thanks so much for hanging in there and making it to the last session in this room. My name's Ilya Bukshteyn. I lead the product efforts for Microsoft Teams devices as part of our Teams calling meetings and devices group. And with me, I have Greg, who leads our work for devices for shared spaces, and Sandhya, who leads our work for devices for personal spaces. So I thought I would kick off the topic, just talk a little bit about the trends that we're seeing in the space, and then Greg and Sandhya will cover off their sections. Now, we already have our first comment from Matthias about my sound. I've been told that this headset, whenever I touch the boom, doesn't sound great, so I'll try to avoid doing that. But also doesn't sound great for the first little bit as the DSP adjusts, and we're working on that with Jabra. So if my sound continues to be not good, let me know, but it should hopefully, now that it's adjusted, be okay or good or great. So with that, hey Greg, next slide. I'm gonna try to do my best Cortana imitation just using Greg. And of course, every device around me just woke up the minute I said her name. So, what we wanted to do is talk a little bit about how we're seeing the world of work evolve and how we are hearing that devices are going to play an even more important role. It's kind of been amazing to see almost a universal consensus, at least around companies that are information work based, that work has just changed. And the model that we are seeing, at least in some countries, of a hybrid workplace is one that is almost certain to be durable. Now, what do we mean by that? We are seeing companies look at workspace completely differently now, based on a few different vectors. One is the proven productivity of people working from home. I think that has been proven for information work pretty definitively now over the last 6 months. At the same time, that work from home has also proven to be exhausting, or put it a different way, it has a higher toll, especially in some key activities such as ideation, than doing the same activities face to face. At the same time, all companies that I talk to now have a mandate to be able to turn the dial from 0 work from home to 100% work from home on demand. In other words, we were arguably not prepared overall around the world to switch to a work from home paradigm. And moving forward, companies want to be prepared to do that right away. And with all of that, companies are now thinking about their office space differently. So this leads us to all of the different ingredients being mixed into the thinking that companies are doing about how their people are going to work together. Some of the key areas are, how do you, moving forward, really equalize people that are remote and people that are in person, so that you can do ideation, brainstorming, whiteboarding, collaboration with any mix of remote or in-person participants? How do you reduce the, let's say, cognitive overhead of people working remotely so that you can have a sustainable way of working that doesn't exhaust your workforce? How do you rearrange offices given the new environment? I was at a forum of CIOs from large companies, and out of about 8, one company still kind of stood by their principle that, if at all possible, they want everyone in the office. 7 out of 8 said that their office space would fundamentally change, and their top kind of concerns were: 1, how do you equip, from an IT perspective, the home office the way that you would in the past your office space in buildings? but also how do you evolve the office space in your buildings to be of most use? And probably the most common theme was likely getting rid of personal spaces in the office. In other words, if someone comes into an office, having them sit at their desk on their own doesn't make as much sense anymore because they can be doing that from home, assuming the tools are good enough. So the office space is very likely going to be overweight focused on spaces where people can get together in person and virtually to do things that they can't just do on their own. The tools and services we work on with Microsoft Teams have to get better to support all of these trends. We have to do a much better job, all up, not just Teams, but all across our industry, of making remote and in-person participants more equitable, of providing higher bandwidth and richer dialogue so that you get more than just that sort of flat two-dimensional view of people, and so that you can get closer to the kind of interaction that you can have when someone is a few feet away from you. Now, Greg, next slide, please. On that note, this is where we are very focused in the devices space. We see devices as providing that connective fabric between everybody, whether they're remote, in rooms, around the world. Devices need to make it easier to collaborate, provide a richer experience, whether you're in the room or remote, and increase your productivity overall. And we've seen with today's experience already an explosive trend in the usage of devices in work. So just picking one example, and there's many, many data points I could give you, with Microsoft Teams Rooms, we've seen an average of almost 300% growth in meeting minutes from Microsoft Teams Rooms on a month-over-month basis. So it's not just a hypothesis. We are actively seeing customers looking more and more to devices such as ubiquitous room systems, such as personal devices in the home office, to bridge that gap to the hybrid world of work. Next slide, please, Greg. So for rooms specifically, we really are now thinking beyond what has been I would say, the key focus for the last few years. For the last few years as an industry, the key focus has been get into video meetings with one touch. So start meetings on time instead of 10 minutes late. Make sure the video and the audio is great. Get those meetings going quickly. And while I'm not saying that the industry or us are declaring success here, I am saying that the thinking, at least for us, has now evolved moving beyond that baseline. So where we see room systems going and where we intend to lead with Microsoft Teams Rooms is to continue to reduce the friction for participants, but also increase the value and capabilities both for in-room and remote participants. So that means things like being able to pull up all of the work, documents, files, artifacts very quickly, adding AI and voice commanding capabilities into these rooms, making meetings more inclusive by providing that same level of info of who's in the room, who said what, who had the action item assigned in the tool, so you don't have to just verbally capture that and process it. Have our service capture that, process it, and display that information in an equivalent way to every participant in room and remote. And enable co-creation and collaboration on content, again, in an equitable way between in-person and remote. So if you want to whiteboard something, we see a future where it is just as easy to stand up and whiteboard in the room as it is to then participate with that same whiteboard remotely with any other kind of Teams device. This is where we're focused, adding AI capabilities, adding capabilities to more easily bring content in from Microsoft 365 into the meeting, and using the service to capture all of the artifacts and cognitive processing that happens in the meeting and make that available to everyone. Greg, next slide, please. And that brings us to the work we're doing across devices. Our view is that devices, purpose-built devices, enhance and augment the team's experience for calling, meetings, and collaboration by making everything I talked about easier. Devices not only provide great audio, obviously, apparently with the exception of my headset, but great audio, great video, but they also can bring additional sensors, cognition, and processing into each space, while also making it much, much easier for users to interact with teams and with their remote participants. So by having a room system in a given space, as I said, not only are you going to have great one-touch join, low friction, but we believe we can do so much more around capturing who's in the room, so you don't have to go around and do introductions for 10 minutes, capturing who said what, so you can stay in the flow of the meeting, or catch up very quickly afterwards by looking at a fast forward version, a time lapse version, if you will, of the meeting transcript and recording. And moving forward, these devices and rooms will also provide just a much better three-dimensional experience, a cinematographic experience for video, focusing on people talking or being at the whiteboard, an experience that puts notes and whiteboarding up right next to the people working on that. An experience that with Together Mode, when we bring that to rooms, makes remote people look like they are equivalent to people in the room by putting them around the virtual conference room table. These are just examples of how we think room systems will get much richer and augment the experience. On the other side, on the remote side, personal devices will be key to completing the experience as well. Our partners have now seen just skyrocketing sales of devices for personal spaces. Some of them are selling as many devices in a week as they used to sell in a quarter. And I point this out because I do think it's an important shift. Whereas in the past, companies had focused on devices for office space, and the vast majority, I would say 90% of information workers just got a laptop. I think it's a reasonable hypothesis to now say every information worker will be equipped with multiple kits of devices for collaboration and communication. There'll be a pyramid, if you will, of kits for personal spaces. There'll be executives who have effectively meeting rooms at home. There'll be managers who have higher budgets and therefore can have dedicated communications devices. And there'll be a mass market of people who will now be equipped with devices that augment their personal device, video webcams, speaker pucks, headsets. And I think there's a very good chance that they'll have that same kit for home, as well as hopefully when we start traveling again on the go, as well as potentially in the office in a hoteling scenario. So this is what we're focused on, the devices, having devices for every space that provide that frictionless, rich, augmented experience across every interaction. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Greg to first talk about shared devices, and then Sandhya to talk about personal devices and how they connect together. Greg, take it away.
Great, thank you, Ilya. So I'm Greg Baribault, and like Ilya said, I lead our program management team for shared devices, including the Teams Room device, Service Hub, and our interoperability services from Cloud Video Interop and our newest Direct Guest Join. I'm going to take you through a couple of scenarios and examples of how we're bringing the devices that Ilya described into different rooms of different shapes and sizes and uses, and delivering that Teams experience for all users in these rooms. So I'm going to introduce two sort of categories of device. The first of them is what we call Microsoft Teams rooms. The first thing that every Teams rooms device is a native Teams experience. And when we say native, we mean a software application that is developed by Microsoft as a first-party application and is universally available to all Teams rooms devices, whether they run Windows or Android, whether they're collaboration bar or single integrated form factor devices or highly modularized. The user experience is the same. And that really reinforces Ilya's earlier point of familiarity and ease of use. People can walk into a room, they're already kind of stressed out from having to lead a meeting or present something to an audience. They don't need the additional stress of needing to learn how to use the room. So all of our devices will behave in exactly the same way and familiar to them because they're derived from the experience that they use day in and day out on their mobile devices and their desktops. So a very familiar and easy to use experience. Now, like I said, these devices can come in a variety of form factors. So we have devices that are fully integrated, single bars that you would mount on a display, simply plug in. And we have devices that are highly modularized, compute boxes separate from cameras, speakers, microphones, and other peripherals. And the intention there is to allow this single room device category to scale to literally any room size you could imagine. We have seen them in very small focus room spaces, 2-person, 4-person kinds of environments, up through the very largest of executive boardroom and even multi-purpose room and auditorium style rooms where you're seating potentially hundreds of people and in rooms that are very flexible. So rooms that may have walls that come and go throughout the day and break rooms into 2 areas with basically 2 complete systems, or merge them back together into a singular system when that room is needed for a much larger audience. So the Teams Room platform, from OS choice to manufacturer and device category choice or device form factor choice, is an extremely flexible platform that can really be utilized everywhere. We, like I said, are deriving our experience from the Teams desktop and mobile experiences. And what that means is all of the inclusivity features, all of the collaboration features that we build into Teams, we pick the ones that are relevant for a shared space and enable them directly into these rooms. So all the capabilities you've come to love about Teams flow naturally into the rooms. And finally, a room must be reliable. Ilya mentioned the sort of basic enabling capabilities of any room system in the industry: quality, reliability. Those are, of course, delivered in Teams rooms. But we go beyond that and to make sure that as a customer, you are able to do full monitoring, management, alerting of any issues that do happen in that room, from software issues to somebody in the room unplugging a device and breaking the room in some way. You'll be informed, ideally, before the users in the room even know and are able to address that issue. And we offer that in 2 varieties. You can manage that yourself through the Teams Admin Center. Every one of our devices for every customer is enabled in the Teams Admin Center. And you can also allow Microsoft to manage your device on your behalf through what we call Microsoft Teams Room Premium, a service where we take on the responsibility of operating that room on your behalf, make sure that room is always up and running. So the second category of device is the Surface Hub or collaboration style device. The Hub is designed really around a collaboration experience, inking, co-editing, the whiteboard experience, and is really well suited for rooms where people would kind of gather around the display and actually directly interact rather than more at a distance sitting at a table. These devices are, of course, built on Windows 10. They are fully integrated, so the display, the touch enablement, and built-in camera, microphone, and speakers, all certified for Teams. They can also be wall mounted. So if you did have a room with just the Surface Hub as a collaboration room, you would simply wall mount the display. But they can also be installed on a cart, and in fact, a cart with a battery. So you can really wheel this device around, keep it on, keep it connected, and allow it to move into the environments where you are working. So one of the capabilities we recently announced was the ability to pair that with a Teams Room device and allow what we call a coordinated meeting experience, which really allows you to bring the best of both worlds together. The audio and video and rich inclusion capabilities of a Teams Room together with the inking and collaboration capabilities of the Surface Hub. And lastly, of course, these are built for shared spaces. Sandhya will also touch on how these devices can be applied in personal spaces as well. So with that, I want to touch on a few of the capabilities that we've introduced recently that we refer to as people-centric experiences in rooms. So the first row at the very top, you'll see experiences that are designed to support a touchless usage or touchless model within the room. This has obviously become much more important lately as people want to return to the workplace, get back into the conference rooms, but maybe feel uncomfortable touching a device that other people have touched. So through proximity, I can actually use my own personal device, my mobile phone or my laptop, to engage with that room system device, activate a meeting, get the meeting started, and using some new companion features that will be introduced later this year, actually fully control that room system from my personal device. So I can turn the volume up and down or mute the microphone, end the meeting, control the camera, all just using my own personal device and not touching the console in the room. We're also going to introduce voice control. So using Cortana, I can start a meeting, end a meeting, dial phone numbers, and the skill set will just continue to grow over time to really allow that full voice control of a room. We last year introduced the ability to do content capture, and interestingly, we've seen a huge increase in the usage of this capability over the last few months, which I think, looking back on the chart that we showed earlier about room engagement utilization, people are getting back into rooms. They are collaborating as they did before with, writing on the traditional whiteboard. And the folks now that are remote, that are joined into that meeting, can really feel like part of the discussion. They can really be included and participate in this ideation and collaboration by seeing what's being drawn on the whiteboard. So the use of that feature is really well aligned to our vision around inclusive meetings and giving everybody a seat at the table. And then, of course, the whiteboard is a ubiquitous feature across all of our devices, from Android and Windows-powered room systems to the Surface Hub to every desktop and mobile device. So from a digital collaboration point of view, everybody can participate equally, no matter what device they're on and no matter where they are. Okay, here we go. So to the point about scale, I mentioned that we have many OEMs now that are building these room systems for us. And this is the current set, sort of the latest versions of each of these main compute systems. So what's shown here are the computer that actually runs the Teams Room experience, in some cases Android, some cases Windows, and the touch console that's used to control that room. So we have 7 OEMs now for Microsoft Teams Rooms devices, and then of course Surface Hub made by Microsoft. So it really means that as a customer, you can choose the device form factor that best meets the need. You don't need to choose one for all rooms. You can sort of mix and match based on what's appropriate for each room. You may choose different OEMs based on existing buying relationships or who you buy your general PCs from. So lots of different choice and options when it comes to the main compute for the room. And then to achieve that point of scale, we have hundreds of devices that are certified as peripherals that you can connect to those compute systems that allow the rooms to really endlessly scale. So sort of from the upper left down towards the lower right, we see an increase in room size or scale, right? So the Jabra with a 180-degree field of view camera is a terrific camera for a small 4 to 6 person space, up through the largest of DSPs from Biamp and QSC systems that allow that sort of infinite range of flexibility and modularization, and everything in between. There's 2 devices on here that I'm going to touch on in a moment, the room panel and the speaker, but everything else here is available today in market as a audio or video peripheral designed for Teams Room. So to touch on these intelligent speakers, this is a new category of device that we very recently introduced, actually just at Ignite. And the intention here is to allow for that really rich inclusion for the activity that's happening in the room to be consumed by people outside of the room, and really have a good sense of what's going on in the conference room. Traditionally, if you were to watch a closed caption feed or read a transcript, the people in the room all appear as a single entity. It would say conference room, boo. And it's hard to get a sense of who actually said what, and what was the discussion about. You really just read this endless stream of words from one account. With this device, the intelligent speaker, we're actually through a very quick enrollment process that each user will go through on their own personal desktop. Their voice is enrolled in the system and then becomes recognizable in the conference room. And when we can recognize their voice, we can actually separate out what each person said and reflect that accurately in the meeting transcript. So now, instead of seeing conference room said something, you'll see what each individual person said in that room. So this is great. Like Ilya mentioned before, if I miss the meeting entirely, it's very easy for me to scan through this transcript and catch up on something I missed, or just to reflect back on, if I was there, to reflect back on something that someone said earlier. So that voice enrollment data, of course, is stored in a secure way in the Office 365 cloud and fully manageable by both the enterprise and the end user. So we're really excited about both Yealink and EPOS bringing these devices to market very early next year. And then the other new category to talk about is the Microsoft Teams panel. A Teams panel looks like the traditional hallway display for scheduling, but actually does much more. So in addition to easily seeing from a distance if that room is occupied or not based on illuminated sides or illuminated panel, I can also use that room to use the panel rather to schedule the room, or if it's busy, to find a nearby room. So using some interior space technology, I can see if a room nearby is available and I can reserve that room. This platform is also extensible. So we're going to allow customers and partners to build new applications into it. And you can imagine all sorts of kind of interesting scenarios where somebody may expand and extend this capability based on their own business needs. So we will provide a number of those applications out of the box to do things like room reservation and nearby room availability, and then leave it to you to create more amazing experiences on these panels. So we took a look now at many of the different capabilities and styles of devices. It can be a little overwhelming to decide which device is appropriate for each room. And so we're creating some guidance that will actually be available on our rooms.microsoft.com site that helps identify which devices are appropriate, not just for the size. Most people think about, based on how many chairs are in the room, which device they should get. But it goes a little deeper. You also have to consider which capabilities and what activities are happening in that room that will help you choose between a conferencing-based system or more of a collaboration-based system. Is it more about meeting and presenting, or more about co-creating and co-editing? And so based on this guidance, you can choose a device or a set of devices that make the most sense for that room. So I mentioned the need for management earlier. So every device needs to be controlled in some way, have settings set, have the account information set up to be just deployed and monitored. And there are a few options that we enable for that. For customers that are mainly focused on self-management, they have expertise or a team that wants to kind of manage and look after these rooms. We have the Teams Admin Center. This is available to all customers as part of the standard Teams Room Standard product that will give you a full inventory of every system that you have deployed and allow a double click into that setting or into that device to look at every peripheral, the health of that peripheral, things like software version, OS version, really just making sure that you keep the device up to date. It will also allow you to trigger alerts. So if anything were to go wrong in that room, you can be notified right away and take corrective steps to make sure that room is back online and working. This is a free capability available in every room system. For many customers, they also make use of the Microsoft Endpoint Manager, what was formerly called Intune. So our devices may also be enrolled in Intune, where you would monitor operating system health and apply security policies or conditional access policies. And again, this would be considered a self-management type of capability. For customers that choose to not manage the rooms on their own, they want to have somebody else manage the rooms on their behalf, we offer the Teams Room Premium feature. And the Teams Room Premium SKU or license allows Microsoft to view your rooms and operate them and keep them up to date. So through a set of system integrator partners, they can actually raise an alert to go fix a physical issue, but they can also monitor remotely and really take the intelligence that we learn from all of our customers together and apply them to take, in some cases, predictive steps to remove issues or prevent issues. In other cases, if there is something that does occur, they can go in and quickly mitigate that. So this is part of your decision as you decide how to move forward with rooms. You would choose how to actually manage those systems. And like I said, those really appear in two different offerings. So this would be a Teams Room Standard offering for more self-managed, and Teams Room Premium offering for those that would like Microsoft to operate those rooms. And the last thing I want to touch on is about that journey to Teams. So, many customers have non-Teams native equipment deployed today in rooms. On that journey, as they're migrating to Teams, we want to help sort of bridge that gap and get the devices they have connected and help them on that journey. So Cloud Video Interop is a solution that allows for non-native devices, legacy room equipment, to connect through a cloud-based bridge into Teams meetings. So they can still provide a one-touch join, a very rich audio and video and screen sharing experience, but done through a cloud-based translation service. The other option we have there is direct guest join. And direct guest join is more intended actually for a Rooms device, a Microsoft Teams Room device, to do that occasional join into a non-Teams meeting. So if, as a customer, I have partners or other companies that I work with that may run WebEx or Zoom, my Teams rooms and the awesome audio and video that we provide there can now be used to join those WebEx and Zoom meetings. So again, through just one touch join, I get a full meeting experience powered by WebEx or Zoom. So it allows for these Teams Room investments to actually become much more flexible and used across service. So a quick call to action. We have a new website, rooms.microsoft.com, where you can find out more about everything that I just described. And with that, I want to hand over to Sandhya.
Hey everyone, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm Sandhya Rao. I am the principal GPM for Android devices, which includes Teams rooms on Android, as well as our phones and Teams displays, as well as peripherals. And I wanted to chat with you today about our personal portfolio. And so if you can keep moving the slides here. Wanted to share a little bit of insight into our overall strategy in terms of our personal spaces. Obviously, the past 6 months or so has certainly put a real focus on personal devices, and we know that people are working in all kinds of different spaces. Some may still be at work in their office, but some are working from their kitchen table or in a home office. And so we've really tried to look at our entire end-to-end personal portfolio to make sure that we have offerings for customers who are working in any kind of space. And those spaces really, we feel like, are divided up into 4 key areas. First, folks that really need peripherals. Peripherals can be used, in the kitchen or in the living room, but also in your home office, when you need a speaker puck or even a headset to drown out some background noise. We also have Microsoft Teams phones, and we do see a lot of folks actually implementing phones at home. And also as they go back into the office, our phone portfolio is really ramping up there as well. I'll talk to you a little bit about a brand new category of device that we are launching at the end of this or towards the end of this year. That is the Microsoft Teams displays. And then for folks who really are looking for an upgrade to their home office, we even see people who are starting to consider things like a Microsoft Surface Hub or a collaboration bar, which gives a little bit more of an upgraded experience in a personal office. So in terms of our peripheral portfolio, if we can go to the next slide, we really are offering a robust set of Teams peripherals, and they range from speaker pucks to cameras to a variety of headsets. Here you just see a sampling of some of the newer offerings that we are working with our partners to bring to market. The Jabra 750 has just been newly certified, as has the Yealink UH36, and the Bose 700 UC, which we're really excited about. Bose is a brand new partner to our portfolio, and we're also working closely with EPOS, formerly known as Sennheiser, on a number of their peripherals. We also are working on webcams. Greg mentioned Hudley. They now have an IQ Lite, which is a personal webcam that's recently been certified, as well as this Yealink UVC 20, which is coming soon. Overall, in terms of peripherals, we certify them based on their high quality audio or video performance. And then all of our certified Teams peripherals gives you easy access to Teams, as well as are easy to manage. And at the end of the day, they provide really quick action call controls in terms of being able to answer calls or mute calls wherever you are, really. So, whether you're it's at lunchtime and you're downstairs making sandwiches for the kids, and you need to mute yourself on the call, with a headset, you can easily do that. Or, if a call comes in, you can easily answer that even when you're not sitting in front of your computer. And what we found is, something called a peripheral has really become essential these days. And so we're really excited about the robust portfolio of peripherals that we have to offer. The other thing I wanted to call out here is a little shout out to our new integration on all of our Teams certified devices, which is a dedicated Teams button. And what that really provides is easy action into Teams. So, maybe you're surfing the web on your computer or in some other app. When you click that Teams button, Teams comes right to the forefront of your PC. In addition, if there is a meeting that has just started, your peripheral will have an LED and will start to pulse. And if you click on that Teams button, it gets you right into that pre-join screen. So it cuts out a lot of the actions that you might have to do otherwise, which may be going to your calendar, finding the meeting that you're supposed to be in, clicking on that URL, and actually getting into that meeting. So, and we are finding that more and more people are starting to use that Teams button. We have power users of that Teams button where they're using it several times a day to do those Teams actions. It's a fairly new implementation that we've introduced, and we'd love your feedback on what you think of it and how we can make it even better so that you can really improve your productivity and peace of mind as you work wherever you're working. Next, I want to turn to our phones portfolio. So we have a robust portfolio of native Teams phones. I wanted to talk about two announcements that we've made recently. First is our support for Skype for Business and SIP phones. So if you have 3 PIP phones, we are extending the life of those beyond 2023, and we're introducing new SIP phones which will launch in the first half of next year. And what that will allow you to do is to be able to connect certain models of audio code, Cisco, Yealink, and Poly phones, and potentially others with your Teams service. And so definitely look out for that. We have more information coming out on that shortly. And in terms of the features that those SIP phones will support, it'll be the core calling features, so that if you have customers who are migrating to Teams and they've got a number of these legacy devices, they will be able to adopt Teams and use those devices. So it just lowers the barrier to move over to Teams. On the right-hand side here, I wanted to share with you that we are launching some new, more affordable Teams phones. So these phones will be native Teams phones, so they're Android-based. They will run a full Android client on them, but you may notice that they look a little bit different. The screens are a little bit smaller. Also, it won't be a touchscreen. It'll be a screen that leverages the buttons on the phone, which many of our customers are asking for. It will provide that same great audio quality. These phones first will be offered by Audio Codes and Yealink, and Poly will be following shortly thereafter. So really excited about introducing these. Again, these will have, at least at the initial launch, basic calling features, so they'll be great for those common areas that are maybe high traffic, where you need a durable solution that is low cost. And then you can also leverage them for information workers who are maybe looking for those basic calling capabilities. And then, of course, we have our full range of Teams native phones that are available for more advanced calling scenarios. And then I really wanted to share our new Teams displays category of device. So what this is really made for the information worker. You could use it in your office or at your home office or in a shared space in your home. And essentially what we're trying to do here is provide those great calling and meeting features that all of our native Teams phones offer, but then also provide an even more enhanced experience to that. So what you'll see here, and in the picture, which is a Lenovo ThinkSmart, is it's a full touchscreen experience. There's again certified audio and video included in this experience. You're going to get great calling and meetings, but then you're also going to get things like Cortana voice skills. So you'll be able to use this device hands-free. So maybe you're, again, in the kitchen making sandwiches and you need to understand, hey, Cortana, when is my next meeting, so that you can actually plan accordingly. Or you can maybe you're on your PC and you're doing a number of different workloads there, but you need to chat something to Ilya really quickly to say, hey, Ilya, I'm going to be running late. I'll be there, in a couple minutes. And you can do that via Cortana, which is really exciting. This also offers things like chats, and you can view your full calendar. You can view your channels and your teams. You can also view a number of files that you've integrated into your OneDrive. So this is we're really excited about this. It's coming out later this year. Definitely, we're going to be in TAP, I would say, by the end of this month. So if you are part of the TAP program, feel free to reach out, and we can see if we can get you into that program. And the fourth category of personal devices, which I shared in the beginning, was this idea that we really are trying to upgrade the home office. So what we're hearing from customers more and more is sometimes they have a great home office, but they have to do more professional presentations, or maybe they're sitting at their desk for 5 to 10 hours a day, which can be very constraining when you're only looking at a small PC and maybe a monitor in front of you. And so for these types of scenarios, we are suggesting that maybe something like a collaboration bar, or in this image, a Surface Hub could be a good option. And this might be for when you have presentations, when you want to use that great video and audio experience on the Surface Hub, but you also want to walk around the room and maybe have a more hands-free environment. It's got that same great Windows 10 experience that you're used to. You can leverage it for whiteboarding and more creative activities, again, which may walking around and kind of thinking may be more conducive to, being more creative in that sense. And then lastly, it has, Windows Hello, biometrics, and it is easily, you can move it around and in your space as well. So that's another option for folks who are maybe looking for that more upgraded experience. And again, just a quick reminder, all of these devices that we recommend, we work very closely with all of our partners to ensure that they are Teams certified, meaning they've got high quality audio and video, as well as various integrations into Teams that you're not going to find on non-certified devices. And then lastly, I wanted to share another exciting development that we are working on, which will likely be launched in the US and Canada towards the end of this year, and then will follow to other countries in early next year. And this is our device as a service option. So again, Ilya talked about equitability and making sure that Teams is available for all of our customers. And what we're trying to do is, regardless of your budget, really make sure that our device portfolio is available to any customer depending on what their current budget is. And so we're offering monthly payment plans. So there's a couple of different payment options that will be available to you. Also, the service will be available on all devices, not just a subset of the devices that we certify. And then you will be able to access these through a number of different channel partners. So definitely stay tuned for this. We're really excited about it. We think that a number of customers will want and need to take advantage of it, especially given the current times. So we'll have more information coming soon. And with that, I will. I think we have a quick, do we have a quick video to share before I turn it to Ilya, or I don't know if there's time.
We had a quick video to show, and then we have, I think, 10 minutes for questions.
Let me know if the audio comes through. It should.
Cortana, start my meeting.
Joining your 2:30 p.m.
Previously, people in the room generally had a better meeting experience than people joining from other places.
Cortana, join my next meeting.
Now, as some people are returning to the workplace, Microsoft Teams and Teams devices can help make the meeting experience feel more alike and more inclusive for everyone. The intelligent speaker for Microsoft Teams rooms uses AI to recognize people's voices, so the transcript not only shows what was said, it shows who said it. That way, people who aren't in the room can easily follow along, and anyone can catch up on anything they missed. The raise hand feature lets people know you have something to say, which makes it easier to participate in the conversation. And intelligent capture helps people who aren't in the room see more of what's happening in it. So while we may not all be in the same place, Microsoft can help us feel more like we are.
All right, so with that, I think we're wrapping up. We have a few minutes left for any questions that I didn't get a chance to answer in the Q&A. I do want to encourage everyone to use our marketplace that Greg has just forwarded through. So aka.ms WAC Teams devices. One very common question I get is XYZ device certified? If it's on that site, it's certified. If it's not on that site, it is not certified. And we're going to continue to add more capabilities to that site in terms of configuration guidance and additional knowledge that we'll share. So with that, any questions? First of all, thank you. Thank you all for supporting Microsoft Teams, Teams devices, and for your time this evening/morning. And any questions that we can answer before we let you go to the other keynotes? Should I do a going, gone countdown? Going, gone. Okay, well, we'll wrap up. You guys also know where Greg, Sandhya, and I live online on Tech Community and LinkedIn and Twitter, so always feel free to ping us for anything, everyone. And again, thank you so much for your time and your support and your business. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.